Heading into WrestleMania 42, WWE has finally pulled the trigger on the highly anticipated Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes rivalry. After a solid 2 years of eyeing down the title like he was a caveman discovering light for the very first time, Orton went commando and left the WWE Champion a bloody mess. Do not forget that the Legend Killer to his name has some of the most unhinged moments in the company's entire existence. It seems like every few years they let him loose, and as a result, you just don't know what adventures he'll get up to when the voices call him up. Serial killer Randy Orton, from a moment's perspective, is box office like very few have ever been. A man with absolutely no moral compass. The only thing is, at this point in time, he's so adored, such an integral part of so many people's wrestling fandom that it's very hard to boo the guy, especially after nearly 2 years on the shelf. A sociopath is defined as a person exhibiting antisocial, impulsive, and manipulative behavior. Heel Randy fits that billing perfectly. The 7 characteristics of a psychopath are lack of empathy, check, impulsive behavior, check, antisocial behavior, check, surface level charm, I think he's got that one handled pretty well, narcissism, that one checks out, cold-hearted, unemotional traits, I think that's putting it lightly, and a lack of guilt, give that one a big fat green check mark as well. This guy is both wrapped into one skin-faded package. The early Legend Killer days are so special. This was when he was established as one of the most cold-blooded wrestlers of all time. The rivalry against The Undertaker is what sent him over the edge. This after already kicking Mick Foley down a flight of stairs and going through hell at Backlash. People oftentimes talk about being locked in. This guy locked in so hard that he RKO'd his own girlfriend, of course sneaking in one last kiss before he did so. Jake the Snake Roberts, here's an RKO for your troubles, because he didn't think Randy could beat The Undertaker. Randy bought himself a copy of the Dead Man's Playbook and just decided to leave no stone unturned. Caskets set on fire, fake prop dummies, and of course using a recently passed away wrestler to his advantage. All because he lost one match on one night to one wrestler. I've already covered a majority of that run, but there are some things that deserve to be mentioned from his 2009 run, starting with him pretending to have IED, intermittent explosive disorder, meaning that the individual, when sufficiently provoked, suffers a loss of control, resulting in outbursts of physical violence. That's how they play off this whole thing that, hey, he's a little messed in the brain. That's why he came calling like the Grim Reaper to every member of the McMahon family except for Linda. He also attempted to blow up John Cena. He had a parking lot brawl with a recently retired Ric Flair. And one of the craziest setups in this run that I don't think anyone talks about, he somehow got Dusty Rhodes on his side during an episode of Raw he guest hosted. Dusty gave Cody a title match with John Cena as the special guest referee. They pretend that Legacy is having problems, only for Dusty to be like, Baby, it's a trap. I'm sorry. Might be worse than the Triple H impression. I'm sorry, I won't ever do that again. After the 2009 run that's been talked about to death, Randy went babyface for a while before joining the Authority in 2013 because obviously those are 3 people that know his true power. His next Crashout comes in 2017 after he joins the Wyatt family heading into WrestleMania 33. This is where he remembers that arson is his favorite crime, so he burns down the Wyatt family compound, and Bray Wyatt can do nothing but watch. In 2018, he gets horned up over Jeff Hardy's earlobe. He stretches this thing out like it's Play-Doh. If you guys remember the SmackDown top 10 list that they had for a short while, Miz essentially used that to remind Orton that he's kind of washed, he's ranked number 9 in the order, and this sets something off in him where he just despises Jeff Hardy with all of his being. Randy returns at Extreme Rules 2018, and since Shinsuke Nakamura is a nut hunter, he's also like, I also like to do that. So he takes a shot at Jeff Hardy's lower extremities before moving up even higher. He moves on to his earlobe. He remembers that he's the Legend Killer, saying that the people are the ones who killed the legend and he won't let them win. He's now the Legend Killer, and it's his mission to destroy every superstar that the fans put on a pedestal, vowing to end Jeff Hardy's career. After SummerSlam, these two open up Hell in a Cell, and it's better than I remember it being. Randy gets the upper hand by pulling on Hardy's fishnets. He grabs his belt and whoops him like he owes him money. Eventually, nothing is working, so he goes under the ring, finds a screwdriver. He takes this screwdriver and just threads it through and just cranks this thing. I don't know what sick individual could watch this and not turn away. This should be on one of those try not to look away videos. Jeff fights out by kicking Orton in the RKOs and swings around at the top of the cage going for I don't even know what move. He crashes and burns and the ref's like, Randy, he's out, we can't do anything about this. But Randy forces the ref to make the count after it seems like the match was thrown out. I think the rest of this time period is actually pretty tame comparatively speaking. He has his WrestleMania match against AJ Styles and then they bring back the Kofi Kingston rivalry as we get to the summer of 2019. Now here's the crash out that everyone forgot, 2020. I really do think the gap between 2009 and this one might be closer than a lot of people are giving it credit for because they just rejuvenated him to a level that he hadn't been at in years. This is where you can tell that he's been in the dungeon watching old tapes of himself. Edge returns at the 2020 Royal Rumble, and this for me is one of my all-time favorite moments in WWE history. It was beautiful. The Rated R superstar with a redemption story was back. He told us that wrestling can be like life. It can give us a second chance. He was back full time, and the next night after crossing paths with Orton in the Rumble and eliminating him from the match, he's out there pouring his heart out. He reminds us that he's been chasing this moment since his career was taken away from him, and now at nearly 50, he's busted his ass to end his career on his terms. Out comes the Viper, and he asks for a Rated RKO reunion. Now these two were the definition of a match made in hell. Imagine the two biggest ops from any TV show, any movie, any character, any real life person you know, anyone who really gets your blood boiling and has that hateable gene to them. Imagine they join forces and just continue to be the biggest sleazeballs ever. Edge is thinking about it, and as he's buffering, he gets dropped where he stands with an RKO. Then Randy starts swinging for the fences, and just listen to the noises that Edge is making. Mind you, it's been hammered home that this guy's neck is being held up with scotch tape and Elmer's glue. Orton wedges Edge's head into a steel chair and goes to the middle rope, presumably to hit an aerial move, and not just end this run, but put him out for good. But what's so awesome about this version of Randy Orton is, unlike in 2009, he's a little bit more calculated. He's not as reckless, but he's still reckless enough. He goes on to hit a concerto, and for the longest time, it was the punt that he had in his back pocket. Now he just steals this move. Edge gets stretchered out, and that might be curtains on his short-lived return. A few weeks later, Randy hasn't explained his actions, and down comes Matt Hardy, the guy who had his girlfriend stolen by Edge, for real. The guy who put out there that he wished Edge would die in a car crash. He tells Randy that when Edge retired, all hate and disdain for him was gone, saying that he couldn't imagine that happening to him. He couldn't imagine this being taken away before he was ready. Well, Matt, do you want to join your brother and have your earlobe stretched too? Instead, it's an RKO followed by a concerto, but it gets even worse for the man that was once broken, because just look at the state of this guy. He hobbles down to the ring the next week to compete in their scheduled no-holds-barred match. Orton hits a pump fake. When he comes back down to the ring, Matt Hardy is already armed with a chair, and to the naked eye, if you're not a wrestling fan, it looks like Randy Orton is beating down a crippled civilian. He's in some street clothes. He looks like he just had some sort of freak accident and he was just pulled off the street. RKO, concerto while he's wearing a neck brace, and that on its own is pretty sinister. But before the body is even cold, he pulls out Matt Hardy's lifeless carcass, gives him a second concerto onto the bottom half of the steel steps, no less. Weeks pass, and it really looks like Randy has sent Edge back into retirement. We have to know how he's doing, how is his neck, and what does the future hold for the Rated R superstar. Beth Phoenix is scheduled to deliver an update on her husband. She can't even get into the details because out comes this, as she puts it, son of a bitch who offers her a handshake. Randy tells us a story where he flew too close to the sun and dug a hole so deep that he should have been buried, but it was Edge that pulled him out of it. Edge is the man that made him realize that there's more things to life. There's family. He did what he did because he wanted to return the favor and save his life. He wanted Edge's kids to have their dad and Beth to have her man. He did it because he loves the whole family. Beth, according to Randy, is an enabler. Edge is a junkie for the roar of the crowd, and she's nothing. ending off by saying he loves Edge and his daughters Ruby and Lyric more than she ever could. Beth is a broken, bumbling mess. She's sobbing, she can't see straight, her husband and her entire family is under verbal attack, and in front of her is a danger that many people have bowed down to.
Eliminated. Mission failed.
And so does she. Now WWE goes into the pandemic era, and one thing that I noticed is the big WrestleMania match when Randy goes into this mode ends up being in the letdown category. It happened with Triple H in 2009, and oh my god, this last man standing match between these two is so long. It goes on for forever. Maybe in these guys' mind it's this crazy epic, but for a majority of fans it's just 40 minutes of brawling and a lot of nothingness in here as well. They could have shaved off so much time. It suffers greatly from long match syndrome. The rivalry continues on with what's labeled as the greatest wrestling match ever, and that one was damn good. There's a lot of nuance to it. Edge, while filming, tore his triceps. The series was knotted at 1, and I think we probably would have gotten a blow-off at SummerSlam. Maybe if Edge isn't gone for 7 months, his final run does include a World Championship victory. They then shift focus to Randy chasing the WWE Championship because Drew needed a bad guy to work with, and he full-on announces that the Legend Killer is back. On the June 15th, 2020 episode of Raw, Christian makes his return to WWE. He hasn't wrestled for the company since 2014 because of concussion issues. As we all know, Edge and Christian are best friends, so he's there to be the messenger for his buddy. But Randy seems to remember a different time. Back in 2011 when these two faced off, where Christian would just spam 3 words. One more match. He asks him, why not? Why not one more match? And to make it fair, since it's been a while, why not gaslight him into taking an unsanctioned match? The offer expires at the end of the night. And in WWE fashion, what's the one insult that gets someone really fired up, really infuriated, and they immediately want to fight you? You call them a coward. In that match, Captain Cripple has no shot, but there's one man who every single time Randy starts listening to the voices enters the story. He always finds his way back, whether they reheat the Evolution nachos or he's just lurking. And that man is Ric Flair. He's back to convince Christian that this match isn't worth it. He's got nothing to prove, and it turns out that this time, instead of terrorizing him, Orton is gonna have him by his side. Low blow, followed by a rope rebound punt, which is 10 times better than a normal punt, and Christian is completely out cold. As he's presumably dead, Randy just starts petting him and he's like,
I'm so sorry you came here to defend your friend, and I understand why you came here, but you shouldn't have came. As a matter of fact, this is your fault.
Oh, and by the way, the person who convinced Christian to take this match was 2020 Big Show. Orton realizes that he's him again. He's got his mojo back, he's got Rick by his side, and nothing can stop him, and he tells Big Show that he's next. In July, they have their unsanctioned match where he beats him so bad he might trigger follicle reproduction on his head, punts him out, and Randy is molten hot once again. There's a lot of patterns that WWE loves to go back to when they let him loose. Ric Flair is one, the punt is another. The trifecta is complete with his past. They bring up that he should have been fired about 20 times, but he wasn't because he's too valuable. He's the true chosen one, and that's his beef with Drew McIntyre as he sets his sights on the WWE title. His partnership with Ric Flair lasts not even 2 months. The Nature Boy accidentally on purpose gets Randy a match with Kevin Owens, and that pisses him off. Orton tells Flair that he's not happy with that, and even though he respected him in the past, he doesn't anymore. The Ric Flair he knew didn't wear a pacemaker, he wasn't washed up, and he wasn't a has-been. Rick, you do really feel bad for in this instance because he's begging for forgiveness, saying that he's just Charlotte's dad and he wants to be a part of Randy Orton's life. Randy's Viper rises every time he sees another legend in the ring, and after a little hug, he gives Flair a low blow, and Flair just collapses into Randy. This looks so perfect because there's this like red light strobe that flickers back and forth as if Rick's life alert necklace was sending a signal to EMS. He gets punted out, put on the shelf, and the lights go out. In a few months, he's gonna get it on with Lacey Evans to get even with his daughter, but that's a different story. Now, who would possibly be so upset that someone is disrespecting Ric Flair? We'll get to him in a second, but it's the other guy. It's the other member of DX. The guy who retired the Nature Boy at WrestleMania 24, Shawn Michaels, who instantly gets booted in the skull. Drew ends up winning their SummerSlam match, and these two had great matches together. The chemistry was there, it clicked, at least in my opinion it did. But as we all know, there should always be a payoff, something that WWE seems to have forgotten in present day. That comes to us in one of the wackiest WWE title matches of the 2020s. Randy and Drew square off in an ambulance match, and when you play with fire, Randall, eventually it will burn you. All the ghosts of Randy's past show up to get a piece of him, and it is interference laden like no tomorrow. A clean-shaven Big Show, Christian, and the ambulance driver Ric Flair. Drew ends up punting Randy in the skull, and it seems like he's been cooled off for the time being, but as we all know, he's a vengeful, vengeful man. The next night on Monday Night Raw, he dresses up as a janitor, and he's out for blood. He enters the Legends room where the Giant and the Geriatrics are seated playing cards, and bang, X-ray goggles on, Splinter Cell Randy Orton is born, the lights go down, they're ready to eat it now. When the lights come back on, these guys are just completely laid there. They are hopelessly, senselessly, and remorselessly beat down. They look like one of those murder scene outlines. Hell in a Cell is where we're off to next, and Randy dresses up as a crew member to attack Drew McIntyre. He's placed a lead pipe on the top of the cell where he lures his opponent to, sends him flying off the side of the cage, and he wins the WWE Championship for a very short amount of time. Randy has hopefully learned that when you mess with people, things will come back to you. He learned it in the Undertaker rivalry, he learned it in the McMahon rivalry, sort of. He learned it here. But one thing he probably didn't expect was to essentially be the reason for a new mystical being to be born. That, of course, was the Fiend. Randy burnt down his compound, and now Bray was out for blood. And I mean, if someone burns down property in WWE, I guess anything is fair game. Alexa Bliss constantly made her presence felt, and it was the Fiend that cost Randy Orton a chance to punch his ticket to a #1 contenders triple threat match. Orton brings up that a few years ago, he found Bray's weak point. It was the compound. Now he needs to find what the Fiend's vulnerability is, and he believes that's Alexa. Back in 2005, Randy attempted to burn The Undertaker to death. That didn't go well, so he tries this again. Orton sets a trap for Bray by placing his rocking chair in the back. Then he sends him into a shipping crate, lighting it on fire, and then walking away. Normal Bray Wyatt went in, but the Fiend came out, and you can't tell me that they weren't trying to recreate the Survivor Series reaction here. Just look at this side by side. These two are the main event of the final Tables, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view. Only thing is, it's not tables, or ladders, or chairs, or a combination of the three. It's a Firefly Inferno match in which the only way to win is by lighting your opponent on fire. The Fiend is impervious to pain. He does not feel anything that Randy delivers early on, and for the time being, it's just a standard one-on-one match with no referee in sight. Then the Fiend summons the fire. They brawl across ringside, and every time someone takes a big hit, the fire rises. Bray brings out a leather strap, lights it on fire, Randy dodges it. He then brings out a pickaxe and attempts to murder Orton. Trust me, Bray, we've all been playing it during quarantine, buddy. The commentators are just perplexed at what they're witnessing. They have no words to describe this when this is their job. Next, Bray grabs his rocking chair, which perfectly has a gas can next to it, pours gas everywhere, and then sets Randy into the chair, and he is about to burn him to death. Randy, by the skin of his fangs, escapes, because remember, you can only win by burning your opponent. The ringside area is a complete mess. It's a war zone. This has to be the most dangerous it's ever been. Randy pushes the Fiend into the fire after escaping the mandible claw. The Fiend, while on fire, gets back in the ring, eats an RKO. The bell has not rung, but Randy has won the match. He was the first to light his opponent on fire. The Fiend is lifeless. He doesn't move a muscle. He checks to see if the Fiend is still conscious, flips him over so he's facing up, goes outside, grabs a gas can. Mind you, Tom Phillips tells us that Randy Orton has already won the match. He pours gasoline all over him, then grabs some matchsticks, and then burns him to a crisp. On live pay-per-view broadcast, Orton sets a human on fire and then flees the scene. This is what later causes the Fiend to come back with a more disheveled mask. Hold up, don't go away just yet, because now we're entering a full-fledged rivalry between Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton, as if there was anything else left to do. On the final Raw of 2020, Randy goes to the funhouse and breaks some of the puppets. Later in the night, Bliss has invited him to the ring, and she brings out a gas can, and Alexa wants Randy to burn her. She just keeps egging on this man who we already know is an arsonist. Again and again she says this. She even calls him a little bitch and pours out the entire gas can on her head. She is begging and pleading to do to her what he did to the Fiend. Randy grabs the matches, but he does not burn Alexa. And that might have been the biggest mistake that Randy Orton has ever made. To recap Randy Orton's 2020, hospitalizes a man with a crippled neck, RKOs that same man's wife, destroys a defenseless coworker, goes on a vendetta against retired wrestlers, plays a real-life version of Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, and lastly, burns a mystical being not once, but twice. As we enter 2021, we have a short while left to go, but we start off on the very fittingly named Raw Legends Night. Naturally, he goes around poking fun at all the old men he's encountered over the years. He finds Big Show, he finds poor Mark Henry on a scooter, then he finds old pal Ric Flair. And you know who has to get involved? Of course. Welcome back 2009, Randy throws down the challenge to Triple H, who says no thank you. However, Orton knows how to strike the spot. He says that Steph isn't here and the game couldn't retrieve his balls from her purse. We get to night's end on the January 11th Raw. It's Triple H versus Randy Orton, and of course there's some supernatural shenanigans going on. Triple H grabs his sledgehammer and the lights go down and magically his sledgehammer is on fire. Then seconds later he's abducted by God knows who. From behind, Alexa Bliss appears and throws a fireball in Randy Orton's face. She threw a fireball in his face, and now he's disfigured like Cody Rhodes in 2011, but 8 times worse. Look at him. Actually, look. You know what he looks like? He looks like the Lucha Underground logo. This is the mask he's wearing to cover himself up. Actually, look at him. Look at the detail in the burns. He has gone completely mad. He has this like weird seductive relationship with fire where he just lights matchsticks on fire and he's just like in love with them. He can't believe that he's discovered fire. Randy Orton has discovered fire and he loves it. Randy, buddy, did Bob not tell you not to play with fire? This was bound to happen. How many times? Cena with the pyro, Bray with the compound. You bet eventually someone's gonna listen to your old theme song and bring a whole new meaning to Burnin' My Light. What now? Okay, first interfere in Alexa Bliss's Raw Women's title match, drop her with an RKO, then magically heal from the burns in 1 week, puke up some black goop that somehow got into his body, but it's not over. Back in 2009, we were in the age of Orton. Now it's the digital age, and let me introduce you to the world of deepfakes. You're gonna put a fake Undertaker in a casket? Well, Randy, here's a version of yourself basically telling you that it's over for you, that you might as well call it quits cause you're done, bud. Then Alexa's going to become a pyrotechnic. Again, you're gonna puke out black goo. A million Alexa Blisses are going to mind control, hack the Thunderdome, and laugh on your grave. Next, it's time for you to go one-on-one with Alexa Bliss at Fastlane. First, when the bell rings, she's going to blind you with fire, then lure you to ringside where she will once again use mind control, cause the lighting rig to fall out of the sky, and nearly impale you.
Oh, look out! Oh my God! You trying to kill me?
Yes, she is. Then she will blow you a kiss and again hit you with a fireball. To end things off, the Fiend will re-emerge from under the ring, this time looking more sinister because, well, you did this, and you will be pinned 1, 2, 3 by Alexa Bliss. He then somehow won at Wrestlemania when everyone expected him to lose because, well, box-like structure. After this, he found himself with Matt Riddle, and these two were fantastic as a team. The perfect buddy cop duo, which made for some really funny moments. And that is the story of the one Randy Orton crash out that's not talked about nearly enough. We said we wanted the punt, not the punter. Thanks for watching.